The night exploded with fire and sound. Red beams cut across the yard, tearing through trees, splitting the earth, burning the grass. The hunters moved like shadows in armor, cold and relentless. The little girl clung to her father's arm, her eyes wide with terror and wonder. Her father gripped the axe with white knuckles, knowing it was useless against such power. But he refused to step back. The alien outcast stood tall in front of them, his body glowing faint silver, storms crackling under his skin. For too long, he had hidden, bent low, lived as prey. But not tonight. He spread his arms, and the air bent with invisible weight. The first hunter charged, weapon raised. The alien lifted his hand, and a wall of force struck the soldier back, slamming him into the dirt. The ground shook, dust flying into the air. The father's breath caught. He had never seen such strength. For the first time, he realized this was no fragile being. This was a storm wearing the shape of a man. The hunters regrouped, 3 of them firing at once. The alien's shield flickered, the beam striking with sharp cracks. He staggered, his chest burning, but he held his ground. The girl cried out, "Don't give up." Her voice was like fuel, feeding the fire inside him. The father suddenly moved, though he knew he was only human, only flesh. He refused to stand useless. He pulled his daughter behind the broken swing set and turned back toward the fight. His axe in hand, he charged at the nearest hunter. The armored figure turned, weapon glowing. The father swung the axe with all the strength of years of labor. It struck the hunter's arm, sparks flying. The weapon clattered to the dirt. The hunter staggered, turning on him. But before the alien could shout a warning, the father raised the axe again. He was no soldier, no hero, yet his strike was wild and desperate enough to matter. The alien's storms flared, his voice booming. "Together," he shouted, and for the first time he fought not alone. The hunters pressed forward, their steps heavy, their voices like iron grinding. The alien unleashed a wave of energy, the air shimmering with raw power. It knocked 2 soldiers back, armor sparking, weapons falling silent. The father swung again at a third, cutting deep into the weak joint of its armor. The hunter roared, stumbling. The alien struck fast, his hand glowing, and the soldier collapsed in silence. The girl, crouched behind the swing, whispered through her tears, "They fight like family." Her small hands gripped the wooden post as her heart pounded. She had dreamed of this, a protector and a father standing side by side. And now the dream lived, burning bright and dangerous. But the hunters were many. More ships hovered above, beams lighting the ground like fire. Figures poured out, their numbers growing, their weapons flashing. The alien's body shook, his storm burning hotter, cracks glowing across his skin. He had not unleashed this much power in years. It tore at him, ripping through his strength. But still he stood, because he could not break his promise. Not now. The father stumbled, a beam slicing past his shoulder, burning the wood fence into ash. He dropped to his knees, pain ripping through him. The alien roared, throwing himself forward, a shield of energy snapping around the man. The blast shattered on the shield, the air shaking like thunder. The father looked up, sweat and blood on his face. "You saved me," he gasped. The alien's storm-filled eyes glared at the hunters, his voice sharp. "I will save more than you. I will save what I have found." The hunters regrouped, surrounding them in a tightening circle. The alien panted, his body trembling, but he raised his hands again. The father forced himself to his feet, gripping the axe though his arms shook. The girl's voice rose, strong despite her fear. "You can do it. Both of you, don't give up." Her words cut through the noise, a thread binding them all together. The alien's power surged one last time. He raised both hands, and the ground itself seemed to tremble. A storm of light burst outward, slamming into the hunters. They staggered, fell, their weapons flying into the night. The ships above cracked and groaned, their engines failing, lights flickering out. One by one they pulled back, retreating into the dark sky. The ground grew still, the air heavy with smoke and silence. The alien collapsed to one knee, his body glowing faint and broken. The storm inside him dimmed, leaving only pain. The father staggered toward him, his chest heaving. He looked at the being he had feared, the exile he had doubted. and for the first time, his voice was soft. You didn't run. The alien lifted his dark eyes, weak but steady. No, he whispered. Not this time. The girl rushed forward, throwing her small arms around him. You stayed, she cried. You stayed for us. The alien's hand trembled as he touched her shoulder. His voice was barely a whisper. I stayed, because you called me home. The father looked at them both, his axe falling from his hands. His eyes burned, not with anger now, but something like respect. The night was quiet again, but nothing was the same. The hunters were gone for now, but they would return. Still, for the first time, the alien outcast was not alone, and the father knew this stranger had proven himself not by words, but by standing when it mattered. The girl's dream had become real, and in the ruins of the backyard under the broken swing and burned grass, a new bond had been forged, not just in battle, but in belonging. The smoke slowly drifted away, leaving the backyard scarred and broken. The grass was blackened. The fence half burned, the swing shattered into pieces, but within that ruin, silence returned, heavy and alive. The alien knelt in the dirt, his silver skin cracked with faint light, his strength nearly gone. The girl held him tightly, her small arms around his neck, her face buried against him. She whispered again and again. You stayed, you stayed. The father stood a few steps away, his chest rising and falling with deep breaths. His hands were cut, his shoulder burned from the near miss of a beam. The axe lay forgotten at his side, but his eyes never left the alien. For the first time since he had stepped into the yard, his gaze carried no anger, only a strange quiet, the look of a man seeing something he could not deny. The alien lifted, his head meeting the father's eyes. His voice was weak but steady. I did not run, not this time. I stood because she asked, because you demanded, because I could not leave. The father looked at him for a long moment. Then, slowly, he nodded. You fought for her. You fought for us, I cannot ignore that. The girl turned, her eyes bright with tears. See, Dad, I told you he's not a monster. He's family. Her father's throat tightened at the word. Family. It was something he thought had ended. With his wife's passing, something broken, something untouchable. And yet here stood a stranger from the stars, bleeding storms and light, and somehow that word fit. The alien bowed his head, shame and longing burning inside him. I am not worthy of such words. Not yet. But I wish to be. The father stepped closer, his hand trembling slightly as he placed it on the alien's shoulder. You are not my enemy, he said quietly, and maybe you are something more. The girl smiled wide, her eyes glowing with triumph. I knew it, she whispered. I knew you would stay. The night grew calmer, but above, the stars seemed restless. The alien glanced upward, his dark eyes storming again. They will return, he said, his voice heavy with certainty. They do not forgive. They do not stop. What came tonight was only the beginning. The father followed his gaze, his jaw tightening. Then we will be ready, he said, surprising even himself with the weight of his words. The girl clapped her hands together, as if the thought of facing such danger did not frighten her. With him here they cannot win, she declared. The alien almost smiled, the faintest curve of his lips. You have too much faith, he murmured. But inside her faith lit something he thought long dead. Hope. The father helped him to his feet, steadying him as his legs shook. You need rest, he said. Come inside. My home is small, broken even, but tonight it is yours too. The alien froze, the words striking deeper than any blade. A home, something he had lost, something he had believed he would never hear again. His storm-filled eyes softened, and he bowed his head in thanks. You honor me, he whispered. They moved toward the small house, its wooden steps creaking under their weight. The girl skipped ahead, her joy untamed despite the scars in the yard. She turned at the door and shouted with a grin. I told you, Dad, we needed him. Now we are not alone anymore. The father shook his head but could not hide the small smile that touched his lips. Not a smile of disbelief, but of something fragile, and healing. Inside, the air smelled of wood and old memories. The table was scratched, the walls faded, but it was warm. The alien stepped across the threshold slowly, as if afraid the ground would reject him. But nothing happened. For the first time, he was inside not as a thief or shadow, but as a guest, perhaps even as family. The father set a chair for him. The alien sat, his tall frame bending low, his hands resting carefully. The girl brought him a blanket, though it barely covered his shoulders. "You're safe here," she said firmly, her eyes glowing with pride. The alien closed his eyes for a moment, feeling the truth in her words. Safe, a word he had forgotten. The night stretched long, but peace lingered inside the house. The alien listened to the soft rhythm of the father fixing bandages, the gentle hum of the girl's laughter. It was not grand, it was not perfect, but it was real. And for him, real was more precious than any throne he had once dreamed of. Yet beyond the walls, the stars the night pressed heavier on the backyard, the stars burning cold above. The alien stood in silence, the little girl's words still echoing inside him. But then, the sound of a door creaking broke the stillness. The porch light flicked on, and heavy footsteps followed. The girl turned quickly, her eyes wide but not afraid. She whispered, "It's my father." The alien froze, his form still hidden in half-light. He had been seen by the child, but could a grown man see him too? Or would the human mind refuse, blind to what it could not explain? The footsteps came closer, steady and strong, the weight of a man who worked too hard. The father stepped into the yard, his face hard, his eyes shadowed with sleeplessness. "Emily," he said, his voice deep and tired. "Who are you talking to?" The girl lifted her chin, brave but small. "Dad," she whispered. "He's here, the one from my dreams." The father's eyes narrowed, scanning the empty air. His jaw tightened and his fists curled at his sides. "Emily," he said slowly, "there's no one here. You're talking to yourself again." The alien shifted, and the air shimmered like heat above the road. The father's gaze snapped toward the strange distortion. His breath caught, his eyes widening. For a moment, he saw, tall, thin, silver, skin glinting in the faint light, the figure that his daughter spoke of. The man staggered back one step, his heart pounding. What is that?" he whispered, his voice breaking. The girl rushed forward, placing herself between them. "Don't be afraid, Dad. He's not here to hurt us." The father's hand shot out, grabbing her shoulder, pulling her back. "Stay away from it," he hissed. "Whatever it is, it's dangerous." The alien felt the sting of that word. Dangerous. He had been called worse by his own people. But hearing it from this human father cut deeper than he expected. The little girl shook her head fiercely. "No, Dad, he's lonely. He needs us." Her words spilled out with desperate honesty. "He's not a monster. He's the one I told you about, the one I dream of." The father's face twisted, torn between fear and disbelief. "Dreams," he muttered. "Childish dreams." But his eyes kept darting back to the alien's outline. No matter how much he wanted to deny it, he could see something standing there, something that did not belong to Earth. The alien finally moved, his voice low and strange. "I do not wish harm," he said, each word heavy as stone. The father stiffened, pulling his daughter closer. "You speak," he whispered, shock in his voice. The alien nodded, the air around him rippling. "I speak, and I listen." The father's breath came fast, his mind racing. He was a man who fixed broken machines, who worked long hours to keep his daughter fed. He had no place for dreams, no patience for ghosts. And yet here was something real, something that shattered the walls of reason. His first instinct was to protect, to shield his child from what he could not control. "Emily, go inside," he commanded, his voice shaking. "No," she said firmly, her small hand gripping his. "You need to hear him." The alien lowered his head, his dark eyes full of storms. He felt the father's fear, sharp and cold. But he also sensed something else. Beneath the anger was sorrow, the same sorrow the girl carried. This man was broken, and that brokenness made him dangerous. The father glared at the alien, his voice hard. "Why are you here?" The alien's chest tightened, the question like a wound reopening. Why was he here? He could have left, drifted to another world. But he stayed, pulled by the girl's voice, by her strange bond with him. "I was passing," he said slowly. "I was searching, but she called to me." The father stiffened, his eyes narrowing. "She," he repeated. "My daughter called you." The girl stepped forward again, her voice trembling but true. "In my dreams, Dad, I called him. I told him to come, and he did." The father shook his head in disbelief. "This is madness," he whispered. But the alien only looked at the girl, his voice low. It was her voice that reached me, across the stars, across silence. The father's grip on his daughter loosened. Fear warred with confusion in his eyes. He wanted to deny it, to push them both inside and lock the door. But part of him knew something had shifted, something he could not turn away from. He looked at the alien again, his jaw hard. "If you mean no harm, prove it." The alien tilted his head, unsure. "Prove it," the father repeated, his voice sharp as a blade. "You say you listen, you say you need, but words are nothing. I need to see action." The girl tugged on her father's arm, her voice urgent. "Dad, don't test him, just believe." But the father shook his head. "No, Emily. Belief is not enough. Not when it comes to you, not when it comes to safety." The alien's eyes darkened, storms swirling inside them. He understood the test, the demand. It was not trust, not yet, but it was a door. And though he did not know what trial awaited, he knew he could not walk away. The night around them grew heavier, the silence broken only by the faint hum of the stars. And far above, unseen by human eyes, a shadow shifted closer, watching, waiting, preparing. The father squared his shoulders, his voice steady now. "If you want to stay, if you want me to believe you, you will face what comes for us. You will stand, not run." The alien did not move, but inside him, the decision burned. He could flee as he always had, or he could remain, risk everything and prove himself. The girl squeezed her father's hand and looked at the alien with shining eyes. "Don't leave," she whispered. "We need you." The alien's silence was his answer. For the first time, he chose not to run. The backyard felt like a small stage beneath the stars. The girl stood between her father and the alien, her small frame shaking with determination. The father's eyes burned with suspicion. The alien's eyes swirled with storms, and silence stretched like a rope ready to snap. The father's voice came low and sharp. "You say you mean no harm, then show me, prove it. Because words are cheap, and I will not gamble with my daughter's life." His hands were clenched, his body tense. A man caught between fear and duty. The girl tugged at his arm, her voice desperate. "Dad, he's not lying. He's like us. He's just lost." The alien lowered his head, shame flickering in his dark gaze. He had been called many things: traitor, exile, danger, but never like us. Her words pulled at something hidden inside him, something soft, something he had buried long ago. He raised his voice, quiet but steady. "I was cast out by my own kind. I was marked unworthy. I have wandered without a name, without a place, without a home." The father's jaw tightened, suspicion giving way to a flicker of curiosity. The alien continued, his voice rough. "I once had a family, but I lost them. They turned from me. And when I begged for a second chance, they gave me exile instead." His hands trembled, though he tried to hide it. "I swore never to trust again, never to seek a home. Yet here I stand because a child's voice reached me where nothing else could." The girl's eyes glistened, her heart aching for him. "See, Dad," she whispered. "He understands us. He knows what it feels like." The father's chest rose and fell with a heavy breath. His mind battled itself. Part of him wanted to protect, to shield, to drive the alien away. But another, part buried deep, recognized the same brokenness. He had lost too. He had lived with absence, with loneliness gnawing at him. Perhaps that was why his daughter spoke with such certainty, because she saw both of them carrying the same wound. The father stepped closer, his eyes hard but not cruel. Words are powerful, but they can also deceive. If you want me to trust, you must act. You must stand with us, not only when it is safe, but when it is dangerous. The alien looked up, confusion and resolve mixing in his gaze. Dangerous, he repeated. What danger would I bring? The father's eyes flicked to the sky, his instincts heavy. Something follows you, he said, his voice steady. The alien stiffened, his storm-dark eyes widening. He had felt the shadow too, the presence waiting in orbit. He had tried to ignore it, but the father saw truth clearly. Yes, the alien admitted. They hunt me. They always hunt me. They do not forgive those who fall, those who defy, those who are cast out. The girl's hand slipped into her father's, her small voice trembling. Then we must help him, Dad. We can't let them take him. The father looked at her, then at the alien, his eyes narrowing with resolve. If you want a home here, if you want me to allow you near my daughter, you will not run when they come. You will fight. You will protect, even if it costs you. The alien's breath caught, his chest burning with old fear. To fight was to risk everything. To stay was to invite death. He had always chosen escape, survival, silence. But here now, the choice was different. The girl's gaze pinned him in place, shining with trust that should not exist, and the father's challenge struck him like iron. This was no longer about himself. This was about being worthy of something he thought he could never deserve. The alien bowed his head slowly, his voice shaking but firm. If I stay, if I fight, then I ask one thing in return. The night was quiet, the kind of quiet that feels heavy on the skin. Above the small town, the stars looked sharp and endless, and hidden among them floated a lonely figure. He was not human. He was not from Earth. He was an outcast of his people. He had no family, no name worth speaking, no place to call home. For years he had traveled between cold planets, staying where no one wanted him. Yet tonight he stopped above Earth as if something was pulling him closer. The alien outcast was tall and thin, his skin pale like silver glass, his eyes dark and full of storms. He could vanish from sight, bend, the air around him, and that was how he watched Earth without being seen. But on this night, something strange happened. In a small backyard, a little girl looked up at the sky, and her eyes did not pass over him. Her eyes stopped, stared, and held on to his hidden shape. She smiled like she had found a secret. And then, in a soft voice, she spoke words that froze the alien. You need a home, she said, her voice clear in the silence. My father needs a bride, she added, as if telling a simple truth. I need a mom, she whispered, almost like a prayer. The alien trembled, because he had heard many things in his long life, anger, fear, rejection, but never this. How could a human child see him, speak to him, know him? He tried to hide, but her eyes still followed, wide and fearless. The girl was small, her hair tied in a loose braid, her feet bare on the grass. She did not step back, she did not scream. She simply tilted her head like she was waiting for him to answer. The alien had no words, only a storm of questions inside his mind. Was this a trap, some human trick? Or was this child really speaking to him from her heart? Above them, the wind changed. The stars flickered as if watching too. The alien wanted to turn and flee into space to escape this impossible moment. But something deep in his chest, something he thought was long dead, kept him still. It was hope, the kind that hurt. He had wanted a home once, long ago, before he was cast out. Now this little girl was offering words that touched that wound, words that made him feel he was not invisible, not forgotten. The girl's backyard was small, with broken toys lying in the dirt and a swing that creaked in the night breeze. The alien noticed how poor and fragile her world was. Yet in her eyes there was a strength greater than any army. She stepped closer, lifting her chin. "You don't have to be alone," she said, like she knew the deepest truth of him. "I can see you, even if no one else can." The alien's heart pounded, though he had no heart like humans. He wondered if she was gifted, cursed, or something else. His people would call her dangerous, but to him, she was like light in the dark void. Still he fought against it, whispering, inside his mind, "No, this is wrong. She is human, I am not." He told himself she could not mean what she said, and yet every word rang louder than the stars around him. The night grew colder, the grass shivered, the girl hugged her arms but did not step inside her house. She only looked at him, waiting. The alien wanted to ask her many things. "How do you see me? Why do you speak of home? Why me?" But his voice was locked. Instead, he moved closer without meaning to. The air shimmered where he stood. The girl gasped, but it was not fear, it was wonder. "You are real," she said. "I knew it." For the first time in years, the alien felt seen. Not as a monster, not as a mistake, but as someone who belonged to a story bigger than himself. The silence between them stretched, heavy with questions, heavy with fate. Above, a shadow moved, among the stars too far for the girl to notice. But the alien's sharp eyes saw it. He knew he was not alone in the sky tonight. Something else was out there, watching, waiting, and perhaps it had followed him. The girl's words echoed again. In his mind, "You need a home. My father needs a bride. I need a mom." They felt like a door opening, like a bond pulling him toward Earth. But the shadow above reminded him of the danger he carried. If he stayed, he might doom them all. If he left, he would return to endless loneliness. The choice pressed on him like a weight, and the night grew darker. The little girl whispered again, her eyes shining like stars. "Please don't go." The alien froze, torn between fear and hope. His body trembled with the thought that this child, fragile yet fearless, might change everything. For her, for him, and maybe for the world. And with that thought, the hook of fate pulled tighter, refusing to let go. The night sky above the small town shifted. The stars that had been quiet witnesses now trembled as shadows slid across them. The alien lifted his face, his storm-dark eyes narrowing. He felt it before he saw it. The low hum, the vibration in the air, the taste of metal in his throat. The hunters had found him, and they were not far. The father followed his gaze, his fists tightening. He did not see clearly at first, only a strange movement above the horizon. But then the lights appeared, red, sharp, unnatural, not stars, not planes, but something that moved like predators circling their prey. He pulled his daughter close, his voice low and urgent. "Emily, get inside." The little girl shook her head fiercely. "No, Dad, we can't leave him. They are here for him, not us." Her voice was small but strong, her eyes wide with both fear and fire. The alien turned to her, his form flickering in the starlight. "She is right," he said, his voice heavy. "They come for me, but they will destroy whatever stands near me." The father's breath caught, his heart pounding like a drum. He stared at the alien. Then, at the sky where the red lights grew brighter. "You brought this to us," he hissed, anger breaking through his fear. The alien lowered his head, shame darkening his features. "Yes," he admitted. "I carry their wrath. They will not stop until I am gone or dead." The girl pulled free of her father's grip and stepped toward the alien. "Then don't leave. Don't let them take you. Fight them here with us." Her small voice shook, but her words were blades of courage. The alien's chest ached, because this child believed in him more than he believed in himself. And behind her, the father's voice cut through the night, hard and sharp. "This is your test. Prove you are not a danger. Prove you belong. Stand against them." The hum in the air grew louder, like thunder crawling closer. The first ship broke through the clouds, dark and sharp-edged, lights glowing like burning coals. It hovered above the trees, its shadow stretching across the yard. The ground shook. The swing in the girl's yard creaked violently. The father pulled Emily behind him, his jaw tight. But he did not run. Not this time. He grabbed the rusted axe that leaned against the fence, his only weapon. If they came for his home, he would stand, no matter how foolish it seemed. The alien stepped forward, his body glowing faintly, the air bending around him. He had hidden his power for years, burying it deep. But now the hunters forced him to uncover it. Energy flickered at his fingertips, a storm waiting to break. He turned to the father and child, his voice low. "If I fight, they will see me as traitor twice over. They will bring more." The father's answer was simple, cold as stone. "Then fight anyway." The ship above them pulsed, beams of red light stabbing the ground, searching. A second ship appeared behind it, then a third. They circled like wolves, their engines growling. The alien spread his hands, his voice like thunder in the stillness. "Stay behind me." The girl clutched her father's hand, her heart racing. She whispered, "He will not run, I know he won't." Her father said nothing, but his grip on her hand was strong, his eyes fixed on the impossible scene above them. The first ship lowered, its metal skin shining under the moon. A hatch opened and figures emerged. Tall, armored, their faces hidden, their weapons glowing with cruel light. They moved with perfect precision like predators trained for only one purpose: capture and kill. The father felt his throat tighten, fear screaming inside him. But beside him, the alien stepped forward, taller, stronger, no longer hiding. The hunters froze for a moment, surprised to see their prey standing so boldly. The alien's voice rang across the yard. "You will not take me." The hunters lifted their weapons, beams of energy crackling to life. The father pulled his daughter back, shielding her with his body. The alien raised his hand and the air around them rippled like water. The first blast came. A burning spear of red light tearing through the night, but it bent in midair, twisting, shattering harmlessly against the alien's shield. The girl gasped, awe and fear tangled together. The father's eyes widened, disbelief, crashing against the sight of impossible power. The alien storms had broken free, no longer silent, no longer chained. Energy surged through him, his silver skin glowing with faint cracks of light. This was the outcast no longer hiding. This was the exile who refused to kneel. The hunters regrouped, circling tighter, their weapons firing again and again. The yard lit up with red flashes, the grass burning, the swing splitting in half. But every blast bent away, shattered or dissolved in the alien storm. He roared, a sound that was both human and not. "You will not take me," he thundered. "And you will not touch them." The girl's eyes filled with tears, her heart swelling with something fierce. She saw not a monster, not a danger, but a protector. The father, axe in hand, still stood ready, though he knew he was powerless against such weapons. But in that moment he was no longer only afraid. He looked at the alien, and for the first time respect sparked in his eyes. Above, more ships appeared, their shadows growing. The test was only beginning, and the night that had once been quiet was now The night carried a strange silence, heavy and alive. The alien stood in the shadows, uncertain if he should stay or vanish into the sky. But the little girl did not blink. She looked at him with steady eyes that held no fear. Instead, she smiled like she already knew him. It was a smile that said, "I have been waiting for you." She stepped forward, her small hands holding the edge of her worn dress. The grass brushed her feet, and the cold air wrapped around her. Still, she lifted her face to him and whispered, "I have seen you before, not just tonight. I see you when I dream." The alien's breath caught in his throat, though he did not need air like humans. Dreams, he thought. How could she dream of him? The girl nodded as if answering his unspoken question. "Every night you come, you walk alone, you look sad, you look lost." Her voice was steady but soft, like a secret meant only for him. "And every night, I tell myself you are real, that you are not just a shadow." She pressed a hand to her chest. "Now you are here, standing where I can see you." The alien outcast shivered, not from cold but from something deeper. How could this human child know his sorrow? How could she dream of his wandering life, his exile, his endless search? He wanted to step back, to deny her words, but his feet stayed frozen. Her truth was sharper than any blade, and it cut into his guarded heart. The little girl's eyes glistened under the starlight. "My mother is gone," she whispered, her voice breaking like glass. "She left when I was very small, and my father is broken without her." Her chin lifted, her courage burning. "I need someone who sees me, someone who cares, and when I saw you, I knew." She breathed. "You are meant to be here with us." The alien's chest tightened. 1,000 memories of rejection rose inside him. His people had cast him out, calling him cursed. He had lived too long in silence, too long in shadows. And yet this child, fragile and small, dared to invite him into her world. He could not understand it. Why her? Why now? The girl moved closer, her eyes never leaving his. "You are lonely. I can feel it," she said, her voice trembling but true. "I am lonely too. Even when my father is here. Even when people smile at me. I feel alone." She tilted her head. "Maybe you came because we called you without knowing." The alien felt a strange warmth, a thread binding their words together. His people had believed humans to be simple, blind to higher truths. Yet this girl was not blind. She was open, awake, alive in ways that made his heart ache. Was she gifted by chance or chosen by something greater? He could not decide, but her presence made him believe in the impossible. The house behind her was quiet, its windows dark, its walls thin with age. He could smell the faint sadness in its air, the kind of sorrow that never leaves. And still, the girl stood outside, refusing to hide, refusing to break. "You came here for a reason," she whispered. "I know it. Even if you don't want to admit it." The alien shifted, the air around him flickering. He wanted to speak, to tell her that her words were dangerous, that her belief could destroy her. But the moment he tried, his voice cracked with a sound he barely recognized. It was not a warning, it was not anger, it was something weaker, something like hope. The girl leaned forward, listening as if the smallest sound from him was a treasure. "You don't have to answer now," she said, smiling sadly. "I know you don't trust me yet, but I will wait, because I know you." Her words carried a strange power, not magic but faith. Faith that burned brighter than the stars above them. The alien outcast clenched his fists. Every instinct screamed to vanish, to escape, to keep moving. But he stayed, trapped not by fear but by the weight of her honesty. No human had ever spoken to him like this. No one had ever dared to claim they knew him. And for the first time in many long years, he wondered if he could let someone in. Above, the stars flickered again, but this time he ignored them. He only looked at her, this fragile child who spoke like a prophet. He thought of her words, dreams, loneliness, family, and they echoed in him like thunder. Could this really be the place where his wandering ended? Could this girl truly see more than his broken shape? The silence stretched and the night seemed to hold its breath. The girl reached out her small hand, not touching him, but offering. "You are not just an outcast," she said firmly. "You are someone's answer, even if you don't believe it yet." The alien's body shook as if the stars themselves pressed against him. Every moment with her pulled him deeper into a fate he did not choose. And though he did not yet move closer, he also did not leave. For the first time, the outcast remained, standing still under the gaze of a child who saw through him. The night whispered around them, carrying their secret into the dark, and far above, unseen eyes still watched, the shadow in the stars growing darker, heavier, closer. The alien felt it. Knew danger was coming. But he also knew one thing for certain now. This girl was not ordinary. And if he left her, he would never escape the truth she had spoken into his heart.